Hi and welcome to the Ron Paul FLIX Show for April 11th, 2012. Going to jump straight into an interview that I just did with Doug Wead. Here it is. I'm joined now with the incredible Doug Wead. Thanks so much for joining us again on the FLIX Show.
Hey, the incredible Israel Anderson.
Thanks, buddy. Now, I wanted you on the show tonight because obviously Santorum just dropped out. What does this mean for the campaign now? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing?
Well, I don't know. It is what it is, and we have to deal with it. And there are bad things about it, and there are good things about it. It makes it much harder to have a brokered convention, which was our best way to really be strong and have influence. That makes it a lot people in the race, and one who's tenuous, who's $4 million in debt and could make a deal at any time. So that's tough. What's interesting, though, Israel, we don't know the full fallout of it. We have a candidate who's consistent and his message is logical. So anything can happen, and some of the good that's come out of it just tonight, Dr. Paul speaking in Fort Worth, Texas, and privately, secretly, except now everybody knows it, he's meeting with some evangelical Christian leaders after he speaks tonight in a private meeting. Some evangelicals are now turning to Ron Paul, and it's these evangelical leaders. It's complicated. Some of them are disappointed that Santorum dropped out, hurt by it. They wanted him to stay in all the way. They weren't big Mitt Romney fans. Now they're afraid to turn to Newt Gingrich because they're afraid he might drop out. And so they're turning to Ron Paul. They're doing that even though the mainstream media is beating the drums saying that Mitt Romney has the thing won. They're doing it anyway because, as one of them, a former congressman, explained it to me, you don't give away something for nothing. And we aren't getting anything from the Romney campaign, so we're going to support Ron Paul all the way. And one of the questions they are planning on asking Dr. Paul tonight, their first question is, are you in this race to stay? Because that's what they want.
Which is extraordinary because you and I know the answer to that already, and anybody who's paying any attention does. Let me just go back, though, to something you said. For those of you who don't know, when Doug mentioned one of the candidates was $4 million in debt, that's not Romney or Ron Paul, that is Newt Gingrich, whose little company has actually just declared bankruptcy in the last few days as well. So for all intents and purposes, Newt Gingrich is not in this race, is he?
Well, you sure have a hard time. How can you compete in Texas? For example, we're now on the air with ads in Texas, television ads. This is the first time we've been on the air since Nevada. So we've got money, thanks to the last money bomb. If this next one, which comes up Sunday, is a good one, we're going to compete in Texas, and it's the first time we'll have been in competition really for a long time. We were coasting somewhat because we were into the caucus states where our money was going in to the precinct, county, district level to influence those state conventions. It was money very well spent, by the way. We were going to do a whole lot better than anybody ever imagined or thought we would do or predicted us to do. But this is the first time we've gone back publicly and contested a race in public. Gingrich can't do it in Texas. He'd be popular there, but he doesn't have any money. So money's everything. So it's tough for him right now.
Now, let me echo a frustration in the grassroots. It's a question on my mind as well. You say this is the first time we've been running ads since Nevada. Why is that? Why we saw the effectiveness of the ads in the early days where we took out Rick Perry. Why hasn't the campaign continuously been running these ads in primary and caucus states?
Because we're up against the establishment. They've got tons of money and they control the airwaves. They are the prince of the air. So we have to spend a tremendous amount of money on television to equal, to counter what our opponents get free of charge, the infomercials they get from the news, tremendous expense. So it's almost better for us when we're in a caucus state to go invisible and let the news media pan us and say we're out of the race, if that's what they want to believe, fine, because then our money is spent at the precinct level. Now it's spent at the district, county level, state level, and we start picking up all these delegates that the news media doesn't know we're getting. And it's been a much wiser use of our money. How much money per delegate do you spend? We have to spend a lot because we're up against the mainstream media, which is part of the establishment. They're directly or indirectly getting money, they or their advertisers, from the Federal Reserve, which we're believing, should conduct their business transparently so we can see it to end the corruption. So that's a pretty big order.
Right.
But we're on Texas, and we're back on the air in Texas.
Doug, as somebody who's been in Christian ministry for about 20 years, I struggle to understand how somebody who was previously supporting Santorum could now come and support Ron Paul. I guess maybe 15 years ago, I would have supported Santorum over Ron Paul. Times have changed. I've got a bit of an education now. What is it going to take? And do you think it's really likely that these Santorum delegates are going to swing their vote over towards Ron Paul now?
Well, you said it. It's education. That's the process you went through. That's the process I went through. So our hope is that they may be supporting Ron Paul because they're anti-Romney. Who cares why they come to us? If they come to us and they're going to vote for us and support us, they're going to learn a little bit about us. And when they start learning about us, the lights will come on. And they'll say, oh, I understand what this is all about. And they'll have a new appreciation for the U.S. Constitution, which not only protects the rights of Christians, but protects the rights of everybody else, which is to the advantage of everybody else. I mean, we live in such a black and white world politically in the United States. Everybody automatically assumes if something is good for one side, it has to be bad for the other side. It's just hard for anybody to say that it can be good for an evangelical Christian and also good for a gay activist. That's just beyond their ability to understand. It's got to be good and bad. But the U.S. Constitution, as we've learned from Dr. Paul and have seen, is a unique document that's good for people, for individuals, and can help us thrive. And the free marketplace can be fair and can have its own penalties that can be pretty tough. So it's an education process. You said it, and that's what it's going to take one by one. I don't know how the process could be sped up. We're trying.
Okay. Let's say they did want to swing their vote over towards Ron Paul now. What's the legal problem with that right now? I mean, are these delegates suddenly unbound and they can all vote for whoever they want to, or are they still restricted? Do you know what's going to happen there at the convention?
Well, we're talking about two different things. I was talking about the public support.
Sure, I get that. But now, even if they wanted to support Ron Paul now, are they legally able to?
Well, you're talking about the delegates, so we'll go to the delegates. But I was talking about the general public, evangelicals and the general public. But if we're talking about Santorum's delegates, have to keep in mind, most of Santorum's delegates were not Santorum supporters. Many of them were establishment GOP Republican officials who are county chairmen who want to go to Tampa and get drunk and have fun and meet all their friends and come home and tell people about how they met Bob Schieffer of CBS News. And they want Godiva chocolates on their pillow at night from the Romney campaign and pictures with all the candidates. And that's why they want to win. They could care less about Santorum or the U.S. Constitution or conservative and liberals or anything else. So that's some of Santorum's delegates, establishment GOP figures who were in states that Santorum won, who suddenly said, oh, we're for Santorum because they saw he won and they want to represent him in Tampa. Another part of those Santorum delegates are Ron Paul supporters, who are people who got in there and ran for election as delegates, won election as delegates, and are learning at the state convention that they're in a state that is the votes divided proportionally, and a certain proportion of them are going to have to vote for Santorum. Some of those are Ron Paul supporters who are going to Tampa as delegates for Mitt Romney or for Rick Santorum or for Newt Gingrich. And then there are other Santorum supporters who genuinely supported Rick Santorum, got in for Rick Santorum, believe in Rick Santorum. They don't know where to go. So a lot of this will depend on what the senator decides. If he decides to release those delegates, they can go where they will. Even if they were bound on the first ballot to vote a certain way, they're now free to vote as they wish in some states. And if he doesn't release them, they'll still have to, on a first ballot, vote the way they're pledged to vote, but thereafter they're released.
Now, I got a question about the strategy that we have been using to get those delegates you just talked about. We made that strategy public a few months ago now. Up until then, it was kind of hush-hush and we were working away at it. Now that it's completely public knowledge, we're seeing the GOP responding to that strategy. I saw somebody on Facebook today posted an image, a photo of a form, a slate, that they had been given for a caucus that specifically said, do not vote for any of the Ron Paul delegates. So now that they are totally aware of our strategy and they are obviously active in trying to counter that, what's the next move? Do we continue doing this? Is there's something else we need to be doing? How do we resist their counterattack?
Well, we're doing fine, even though they know there's not much they can do because they don't have our motivation. So it's not a big giveaway. They know what we're doing now. So if I tell you what we're doing, it doesn't hurt. The Romney people already know that, the ones that count. And they did when we had our little last meeting. That's how they came in North Dakota with their lawyers and their audiovisual people and their dark blue suits and took over. And their parliamentarians, and put up on the screen who the delegate slates were. What could a Ron Paul supporter do? Go up and handwrite on the screen the name of the Ron Paul delegate? So they very cleverly took over and controlled the microphones, and they went into a state like North Dakota, where Mitt Romney came in third place behind Ron Paul and Rick Santorum, and they took 60% of the delegates. So if you ever hear anybody on television say, Ron Paul's stealing the delegates, it's not fair, he's stealing them from a state that he didn't win. Well, there's an example of Mitt Romney stealing the delegates. So it's fair if you win the delegates. It wasn't fair that they shut down the mics when our people wanted to speak or refused paper ballots. That wasn't fair. But the short answer to your question is we're ahead of the game in this delegate process. I say that, knock on wood, because it can go wrong. Now, I can tell you later a number of ways it can go wrong. But right now, we're ahead of where we were the last time we talked. We're doing better. Last night, St. Charles was reversed, and we took all of the delegates from St. Charles.
Right.
That was very much on our minds when we talked last, because our own people were arrested and hauled off. Now the man who was arrested was made the caucus chairman, and we took all of those delegates. So a lot of wrongs are being righted. A lot of good things are happening. We're actually doing even better than the last time we talked in this caucus process. However, it could all go wrong very quickly.
Okay, now we've got a money bomb coming up in just a couple of days now. Appeal to the watchers right now for this money bomb. How badly does the campaign need this money, and what are they going to do with it if they get it?
If they get it, it'll go into television advertising in Texas to make us competitive against Mitt Romney. And you remember what the vote was like in Virginia. It was pretty close when the only two candidates were Romney and Ron Paul. Well, imagine Texas, which is Ron Paul's home state. Imagine an electorate who's convinced by the national media that it's all over, and only the most committed will come out and vote. It gives us a shot. It would be a shot heard around the world, too. Right. Now, the reason I put a little caveat on all the things we talk about is the mainstream media. They have enormous power, and they can stampede these events and say, get out, get out, get out, it's over, it's over, it's over. That can work against them, too, because it can lower voter turnout, and only the most passionate will come out. If it lowers the turnout of our voters, we lose. If it lowers the Romney voters and ours continue to stay in and fight, it's an opening. It's an opportunity.
So Texas is absolutely crucial. That's why they are considering now making a winner-take-all state like it used to be long ago in the past. If that happens, we're going to have to fight very hard to get a win there in Texas. So my final question to you, as an evangelical leader for a long time yourself, Doug, appeal to the Christians in Texas who are going to be voting soon. Why should they switch their vote away from the candidate they've already committed in their heart to support and instead give their support to Ron Paul?
Well, Ron Paul is a born-again Christian. He's an evangelical Christian. He doesn't carry it on his sleeve, but he lives it. He's been married to the same woman all his life, and he's committed to the values that he grew up with. He's got a couple brothers who are ministers. He's against all foreign aid, so some of his opponents have used that against him, saying he's anti-Israel, which is totally false. He was the only guy who stood up for Israel in 1981 when she took out the Iraqi nuclear facilities, and he believes we should be Israel's friend, not her master. He believes the Bible says a borrower is servant to the lender, and we should not be the master of Israel. We should be her friend. So the other issue they always bring up is they say he's pro-drugs, which is totally ridiculous. He's pro-Constitution. He believes in the U.S. Constitution, and the states should make those laws, and that's his firm belief. I worked for George Herbert Walker Bush. We were going to win the war on drugs. We were going to invade countries, and we did. Panama. We were going to combine intelligence with military to shut down our borders and to end the war on drugs. It's worse than ever. It doesn't work. We've got 1.5 million people in prison. Someday, eventually, we'll do what Pat Robertson, who's an evangelical television broadcaster, and what the president of Harvard and many others have said. We'll do what Dr. Paul has said, that we should have a different approach to this war on drugs, and eventually we'll take that approach and we'll end it and we'll stop this pain to our young people. But Ron Paul's the guy that can do that. I sat backstage with him in South Carolina, was talking with him, and he's saying, a lot of Ayn Rand, and he's an admirer of Ayn Rand, and a lot of the Ayn Rand libertarians and atheists can't figure out how a Christian could be a libertarian. He was appealing to me as one. He said, but Doug, the only time that Jesus ever got mad. I said, yeah, I know. And he was talking about when Jesus lost his temper in the temple, because the money changers were stealing the money from the people. They were coming to the temple, and they were innocent, and it's not that they were stupid. We can't all be experts on everything. And the money changers were taking advantage of their ignorance of money and using false weights and balances to steal from the people. And it made Jesus angry. And Dr. Paul's message is that if Jesus could see what's going on today in the American economy and with the American governments, both Republican and Democrat, he would be angry, because the people are being exploited and hurt. The poor people, they say, well, I'm not paying any taxes. I'm poor. I'm getting money from the government. But the money even that the poor are getting is diluted in value by the trillions of dollars that are created in new money by the Federal Reserve that go to the rich. And it's not a free marketplace. We're not against, nobody's against rich. That's wonderful. We're against corruption and stealing money and taking money from one person and giving it to another. And the middle class has been wiped out. The one hope they had was their home. They could put their money in their home. It was the only investment they had left that the money grabbers hadn't touched. And now, so help me, they got that too. There's nowhere to go. And Dr. Paul is the only person who would reform this process and would end this corruption. And it's wrong. It's immoral. And a good Christian, a good Jew, a good Muslim, a good atheist who cares about his people should stand up to this corruption and bring it to an end.
Doug, I appreciate your time so very much, and we will definitely see you again soon. Thank you for coming on and giving us this information tonight.
Thank you, Israel.
Thank you. And we'll be right back after this short announcement.
Let's get this straight. We're debating between a big spending, debt ceiling raising fiscal liberal, the moon colony guy, a moderate from Massachusetts, or a Texan with a real plan to balance the budget. Get with it, people. Only one candidate will stand up for Texas. Ron Paul isn't playing games. 5 federal bureaucracies gone. $1 trillion cut year 1. Get Washington off your back. Ron Paul. Big, bold Texan.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
And welcome back. That is the ad that the campaign has just released, and when we have our huge money bomb on the 15th, that is the ad that is going to be funded to play in Texas. We really need to get that out there. Now, I must apologize for no FLIX shows lately. I've been getting some surgery in my mouth, as you can maybe hear. I still can't talk properly, and there's still more to be done. So right now my mouth is kind of excruciating, but I'm dealing with it. So now, a lot of you have been filling out the form on our website to request cards. We haven't sent any for a couple of months. We had some old cards. We just got some new ones, and I wanted to show you these. These are absolutely fantastic. Justin Pagewood of Ron Paul Designs has put these together. They look like this on one side, and they look like this on the other side. And the idea, 4 cards in one, they're scored down the middle so you can easily fold them, and then you can rest them on a table. So when you're tabling at your university or in a farmer's market or wherever you are, you can just rest those on a table like that and encourage people to take them. There's 4 different websites that are advertised on this card. The one you see here, obviously, Ron Paul FLIX. On the reverse side, nice and colorful, is the Ron Paul Volunteer website. Now, my personal opinion is I want Ron Paul to run third party if we do not win the nomination. Even if we were not successful in running third party, I think it's worth doing because, well, for many reasons. Ron Paul Volunteer will truly come into its own during a third party run. Basically, what we've been doing is creating an entire infrastructure to support a third party run so that when he decides to do it, if he decides to do it, we as the grassroots already have an incredible infrastructure already in place with people on the ground all over the country, people that are leaders in Ron Paul meetup groups and so forth all over the country, absolutely ready to go. So if you haven't already joined and registered on ronpaulvolunteer.com, please go and do that now. And of course, you're familiar with the other one, Ron Paul Posts. Ron Paul Posts is a new website where you can post basically anything about Ron Paul. There's tons and tons of videos there, but if you're a writer and you want to express yourself in writing, you can create your own stories there. You can post photographs, meme style images, audio clips, anything you want. It all goes here. But this is very much like our very own YouTube. So that's really fantastic. And on the other side, the 4th remaining side here, freedomwatch.tv. The site hasn't launched yet. We're sending the cards out already, even though the site hasn't launched, but it will be launched soon. And Freedom Watch TV, inspired by Judge Andrew Napolitano's work on his Freedom Watch show, is going to contain full-length documentaries on all kinds of issues from Agenda 21, monetary issues, economic issues, all the issues that we have been pushing for many, many years. You're going to be able to find amazing documentaries on this site, and you can watch them all there. They'll be indexed, searchable. It's going to be quite fun. And the little subtitle of this, which I like, is "Find out how deep the rabbit hole goes." And if you're fans of The Matrix, you'll know where that's from. Or Alice in Wonderland as well, I guess, which is where it came from originally. So these cards are available on the website. They're extremely cheap. They're free. So just get along here. Let me scroll down here a little bit and fill out your details here, and we will get them off in the mail to you. If you want to chip in for the postage cost, you can do that. There's a slip of paper when you receive it with a URL. You can go there and chip in to cover some of the postage costs, but they are completely free. Okay, so go along here and we'll send them out to you, and hopefully these will be useful in your tabling. Now, I did mention we have a money bomb coming up on the 15th. This is extremely important. Now, I've seen the enthusiasm starting to pick up lately, and that is really fantastic. In fact, we're getting so much more traffic now to our Ron Paul FLIX Facebook page. I've been watching the like counter go up, and it's going up faster than at any time that we've existed. So something really is going on. Our web traffic is on the rise. You know, we get a lot of traffic, and so I can tell kind of the general mood of the grassroots Ron Paul support out there, because I see it fluctuate, and it really dropped off terribly. But the fantastic thing is now I'm watching it all recover. It's all coming back up again, which is really, really exciting. So April 15th, we need to dig deep. I posted on the Ron Paul FLIX Facebook page, you know, we can give up our lattes, we can give up the cigarettes, we can cut out the premium channels on our cable for a month or two. Some people suggested go and give blood. Apparently they pay you for that. I didn't know that. I don't think I'm going to go do that, but if you want to, go ahead. So let's dig deep and give whatever we can. Now, the last money bomb, we struggled over a weekend to raise $1 million, and we finally did it, but it took a whole weekend to do it. I'm believing that on April 15, we can raise $3 million in one day, easy. And if you're with me on that, then dig deep and pour whatever you have left into that. Remember, if you've maxed out and your spouse hasn't, they can give $2,500 as well. So a couple together are allowed to give $2,500. So that's our show. Here is a video that has been produced for the Money Bomb. Check this out, and maybe go along to their website and sign up as a pledge, so they kind of can get an idea of how many people are going to participate in this Money Bomb. But on April 15, please dig deep and help Ron Paul run those ads in Texas, because we have an incredibly good chance of winning Texas. All right, I will see you on the next show. Take care. Here's that video.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous skies, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets sprang the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
On April 15, donate to the cause of liberty at ronpaul2012.com.